So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Hello, everyone, and thank you to the Korean American Family Service Center for the invitation to present on the New York State MWBE certification process. My name is Delcy Andrade, and I'm the Director of Business Development at the New York State Division of Minority and Women's Business Development, which is a division of Empire State Development. So in terms of the agenda for today, we will be discussing the benefits of becoming New York State MWBE certified. We'll also look closely at the division's decentralized certification process, and we will review application types to get you started with your application. In addition, we are going to discuss how to prepare and complete an accurate application package to satisfy Article 15A requirements. Also, we will wrap with how to avoid some of the common mistakes or pitfalls that sometimes happen when you are submitting your application. And we will also wrap with some resources that can assist with your application and other relevant business requests. And at the end of the presentation, I will be leaving you with our contact information so that at any point of your journey in becoming MWBE certified, if you do have any questions, not just for the certification, but even after you get certified, if you are needing some business assistance or more connection to state contracting opportunity, you can definitely reach our division and we would be happy to help. So kicking off, I did want to start off with sharing more about our division. So in 1988, I almost got that wrong, 1988. I was about to say 98. Article 15A of the executive law established the division to promote employment and business opportunities on state contracts for minorities and women. So our mission is to promote the equality of economic opportunities for MWBEs and to also eliminate barriers to their participation in state contracts. So to achieve this mission, the division does focus on three key objectives. So the first one is reviewing applications by businesses seeking certification and maintaining a directory of certified MWBEs. We also assist state agencies in awarding contracts to MWBEs, and we empower certified MWBEs in business development by offering education and outreach opportunities. And just to share a little bit more, so New York State is leading the nation in MWBE utilization at 30.51%, and the division does play an integral role in the continued increase of utilization every year. Before discussing the certification process, let's actually review why is the certification process important and why is it actually necessary. So first, the New York State MWBE program was created as a result of Article 15A, and this law does establish specific requirements for who is eligible to participate and what requirements they must meet. Also, the certification process ensures that only bona fide minority and women-owned firms may participate in the program. Thus, the certification process deters fraud and abuse and allows the division to track participation by state agencies in awarding these contracts. Businesses who do want to become certified, they must demonstrate their eligibility by submitting an application with our division. What are the benefits of being certified as an MWBE, and why should you want to become certified? So after becoming certified, your firm is listed in the New York State Directory of Certified MWBEs. So really think of this as your virtual business card, and it really gives your firm visibility with state agencies who actually have those contract opportunities. And in addition to that, your firm gains access to tailored MWBE procurement and contract opportunities. And your firm also gains access to a statewide network of support and services for MWBEs. So this includes invitations to business development workshops, technical assistance, webinars, pre-bid, and also project events and much more, where you really gain an opportunity to learn more about contracting opportunities, whether that's at the prime or subcontractor level. And just an extra note here on the benefits. So these are very much important resources, and they can really help set your business aside as a minority and or women-owned business, and it also helps you to gain competitiveness, but also helps you to grow your business. So in the past, the division led a centralized certification application review process, which ultimately caused a lot of delays and generally longer wait times when it comes to reviewing your application. So in this past process, one analyst would oversee the full phases of the full application review, including the intake, the compliance review, and then the final decision in terms of certification. So in this process, analysts basically couldn't begin reviewing new applications until they were already complete with that one application they were reviewing, and until that was processed. So this also takes into consideration the request for documentation that could take up to 30+ days, depending on if there's errors or missing information in an application. So the division recently implemented our new decentralized application review process. So when you apply, your application actually goes through 4 phases in this process. But before you begin your application, it is very important to remember that you must meet the criteria that I mentioned earlier on, outlined in Article 15A. So to easily and better assess whether you meet Article 15A eligibility, the division launched an online resource called the Certification Assessment Tool. So this is a simple questionnaire consisting of a set of questions specifically designed to help you determine whether you meet the criteria. And then just in terms of the assessment tool, again, if you take it and you do not meet the eligibility criteria based on that tool or that assessment, definitely reach out to our division. We actually have a new customer care team that helps with any and all questions as it pertains to your certification. And I will be sharing that information at the end of the presentation. Also, I have here on the slide, we do have an animated video on our homepage that really outlines the certification process. So if you are completely brand new, this is the first time you're hearing about the state's MWBE certification, definitely check out that video. It's pretty fun, and it gives you just general information about how our process runs. But basically, after you take that assessment, the next step is really all about gathering your required documentation, and we'll go into more detail in the next slide. So after submitting your application again goes through those 4 phases. So just to give a little bit more detail, phase 1 is the application intake phase. So at this phase, we are looking for completeness of your application package and making sure that all of the required information is received. And then after phase 1, moving on to phase 2, this is where we perform a thorough analysis of your application and supporting documentation. In phase 3, our compliance team reviews for Article 15A eligibility and makes a determination and assigns appropriate industry codes. And we'll talk a little bit more about that in the next coming slides. And then in phase 4, a notice of determination is processed, and the applicant will soon after be able to see the determination, so basically the final decision of their New York State contract system accounts. So in terms of application types, so for firms who have yet to be certified by the division or by the state, you're eligible to submit a new application for minority-owned, women-owned, or minority and women-owned business. You can also opt in for the one-stop addendum and select up to 3 New York State one-stop addendum partner agencies to review or to actually receive your application. and the partners are listed on the slide. And once you're certified by New York State, your application will be forwarded to up to 3 of these partners of your choosing. So this service is a one-time courtesy for applicants that have never previously applied or are not currently under review for MWBE certification with any other partners or the division. All right, getting into Fast Track. So if you already have a certification from at least one of the 5 Fast Track partner agencies, you are eligible to submit a new Fast Track application with the state. You must be a New York State or New Jersey organized business and have current certification with 90+ days remaining and no major business changes. So just to touch a little bit more on Fast Track. So the main benefit of Fast Track is that it reduces the number and types of documentation that you need to submit with your application. So it's really about the documentation number. It doesn't necessarily mean that you are going to speed through the process. We still have to do a thorough analysis of all the documentation. And just to wrap here on Fast Track, the Fast Track application type is also available to firms who are actively participating in the Federal Aid Business Development Program, and the firm, and if the firm is certified as a disadvantaged business enterprise by the DBE Unified Certification Program. And my understanding is both of these are federal certification identifications. Let's go ahead and jump in and take a look at the documentation that you will need to submit in order to meet 15A criteria through the ABCs of certification. So we basically created kind of this easy to remember chart, really looking at the ABCs to help you streamline the documentation gathering process. So I'm just gonna add, there's a lot of documentation that we're looking for that will help us make a decision on if you are eligible to be certified. So again, these are our ABCs, and we'll go through each section in greater detail. And A stands for applicant. So the question that we're really asking is, does the applicant demonstrate the following? So is there 51% ownership of the applicant business? Is the personal net worth below 50 million? Also, is the applicant a United States citizen or permanent resident? And does the applicant belong to a minority group and or is a woman? So to demonstrate that you meet these criteria, the division does look at a lot of different documentation. So that does include your certification affidavit, your personal net worth statement, your complete personal tax return, among other documents. B stands for the applicant business. So we are asking, does the business have less than 300 employees and satisfy the small business requirement? So the division, and we have some of them listed here, we are looking at complete business tax returns, W-2s and other documentation, stock ledgers or narrative, application of authority, certification of incorporation, bylaws, meeting minutes, also certificate of assumed name and filing receipt, proof of significant business presence in New York State, and also proof the applicant's business is actively conducting business in New York State, among other things. I feel like I'm always saying among others because there is a full listing of all the documentation that we are asking for. And it's not on the slide, but I just mentioned it, but I just want to go back to the small business requirement. So for a firm to meet this requirement, you must not employ more than 300 individuals. You must actively conduct business in New York State and must contribute to the New York State economy. And now for C. So C stands for control, but also operations and contribution as well. So we are looking for the applicant being able to demonstrate control over their business. And we're also looking to see that the applicant has made contributions equal to their ownership. So just going into ownership a little bit more, and we'll start with capitalization. So the applicant must demonstrate that they have made a capital contribution in the form of money, property, equipment, or expertise proportionate to their ownership interest in the business. And the division looks at the documentation, which shows the value of the contributions that are made. Also sticking with ownership, now really thinking about risk and profit. So the applicant must also demonstrate that they share in the risk and profits of the business in proportion to their ownership interest. So the division looks at documentation for compensation received by the applicant and risks assumed through loans, leases, and reinvestment of ordinary business income back into the business. Now, just taking a look at operation. So the applicant must show that they can independently operate the business. And this can be demonstrated by having competence in the industry, devoting time to business activity, and having operational decision-making power. So if the documentation shows that the applicant has little to no experience or does not have any knowledge of the key revenue generating functions of the business, then even if the applicant holds the title of president or chief executive of the business, they may fail to demonstrate that they can independently operate the business. All right, moving on to control. So to demonstrate control of your business, the division looks at operating agreements, bylaws, signed business contracts, bank signature cards, and I'll say more to wrap that up. But we are definitely looking for, how exactly are you demonstrating control of your business? All right, so the application intake phase. So I just want to emphasize that this is critical to the successful review of your application. So if your application is missing documents or documents are containing inconsistent information, the application will be returned. So when the division does return an application, the applicant may edit the application and correct any erroneous information. But I just want to emphasize, and that's a lot of the reasons why we're having these conversations, is because we are very much wanting to make sure that you're aware of all of the information that we need, so that when your application comes in, we don't have to add in extra time in regards to returning the application or asking for additional documentation. So any mistakes, missing information, errors, they all basically add delays to the application review process. So before submitting your application, I just wanted to go over some of the common mistakes which can be avoided and definitely will help in having your application be reviewed, again, in a more timely manner. So when submitting an application, you just want to take note that you're attaching the correct documentation for each section of the application. You're also signing and notarizing where it is required. And also in terms of the personal net worth statement, that is required and it must be filled out and notarized. And there are additional attachments that need to be included there. And also send us the complete tax return documents, which include all pages. I know sometimes, business owners might send just the first couple of pages, but we need that full tax return. I did want to make sure, and it's not on the slide, but I did want to touch base on the NAICS codes. So when you do complete the MWBE certification process, you will also be able to request codes to be assigned to your directory profile. So the NAICS codes classify businesses based on industry or economic activity. So with your assigned codes in the directory, state agencies, authorities, and also other contractors can search and identify firms based on codes, keywords, and other options. All to say, your NAICS codes are extremely important because that's how state agencies, authorities, prime contractors will be able to identify you, and it also connects directly to the state's goals in terms of utilization. So our division loves paperwork and documentation. So part of the NAICS codes and you identifying which codes you would like, we are asking for the submission of documentation, such as a fully executed contract, to show that your business performs work in the industry selected. And please do this for all of the codes that you're selecting. So if you have 5 different codes, we're basically looking for documentation to support that your business does perform work in those codes. Just to cover the basics of the application process. So to start an application for New York State MWBE certification, please visit the New York State Contract System. So on the New York State Contract System homepage, you will scroll down to the MWBE certification section. Here you can apply for the New York State MWBE certification or recertify in New York State or update your vendor profile. I'm not sure how many business owners here are already certified, but I did want to make sure I made that note. You do recertify, I believe, every 5 years. So you would go right here onto the New York State contract system to recertify as well. And for those applying for the first time, you would select the first option. And in that first option, it does say certify or recertify, and you would just click there and start your application. As I mentioned earlier, you want to make sure that you connect with supports that can assist with your application, reviewing documents, and provide other business supports. So when you submit a complete application with, again, accurate and sufficient, all of the required documentation, the process will run faster because those requests for additional documentation or other questions won't necessarily be required. And I did want to highlight, just going back to support services, one thing I always say is it's really nice to have a second pair of eyes on your application, especially because we are requesting so much documentation. So 2 resources that you can definitely utilize are PTACs and SBDCs. And I have the websites listed here, but you can go on, just put your zip code, and you can locate the PTAC or SBDC office that is close to you. While it's not on the slide here, I did want to talk about some additional resources. So for those of you here today, if you're not sure certification is for you, or you're not sure if your business services or goods are what state agencies or authorities are seeking, I do recommend reviewing, it's kind of a pretty long title here, but it is the Directory of Frequently Purchased Commodities and Services by New York State Agencies. And this PDF document is on the State Comptroller's website. When you do go there, it will say the latest version is 2017, but it still provides you with a good overview of what agencies are actually purchasing. And also another resource, and it's not listed here, but the New York State Contract Reporter, which I'm sure a lot of folks are familiar with, but this is the state's official publication for all New York State agency procurement. So this is basically the house where all state contracts are listed, and all of the contracts are 50,000 plus that are required to be listed within the New York State Contract Reporter. But I can definitely share that information as well. But an amazing resource to go on and get a sense of, all right, what is the state, buying right now, but also what are some of those, procurement and contract opportunities that are available. All right, I also wanted to highlight Empire State Development's Small Business Division. So they have programs and initiatives supporting small business growth and helping entrepreneurs maximize opportunities for success, including loan programs. And I just want to emphasize with small business, once you go onto their site, there is a whole array of different loan programs, access to capital, financing, bonding, things of that nature. So definitely in a lot of our presentations, we like to highlight the small business division here with our Empire State Development. All right, I also wanted to highlight our division's business development unit, whose mission is to provide MWBEs with the information and resources necessary to be successful in state contracting. So our business development unit is very much focused on providing you with information on how to sell to New York State, information on current New York State contracting opportunities. We also share tools to leverage your certification, and also information on access to capital, technical support, and much more. Great. So to connect with a member of our business development team directly, please email the business development unit contact corresponding to where your business region is. I'm assuming a lot of folks, you're running businesses right here in New York City, but all of my colleagues are listed here. But even though right at the bottom it does say out of state, the MWBE business dev at esd.ny.gov, that is our general inbox, and all of us access emails from that general inbox. So if you do want to connect with one of us to have a more one-on-one session to talk about certification, to talk about your business, to talk about state contracting opportunities, or I don't know if there are any folks in the room that have already received state contracts, or maybe you just received one. What we do pride ourselves on in the business development unit is making sure that we are meeting businesses where they are. So at any stage, whether you're just thinking about certification or you're already certified and you really want to connect to the dollars that are available through the state, definitely come check out our business development unit and we would be happy to help. All right, so to wrap, here you will find contact information again for our business development unit, also our customer care unit as well. So again, please contact our customer care unit for all inquiries, especially those that are certification related. Great, and just want to highlight really quickly, we have our new social media pages. So please follow us on Twitter and LinkedIn. We are always advertising different events that we have going on. So this is great if you really want to talk to one of our state agencies or authorities. Thank you.